In Season 8 of 1000 Pounds Sister Tammy Slaton makes an unexpected decision about getting married, but Amy and Chris disagree. Amy warns that this won't last as tensions rise, but Tammy won't back down. Will love triumph, or will this cause the family to fall apart? Everything changed the instant Tammy Slaton uttered those words. It was a strong, passionate statement that shocked everyone around her, not merely a light-hearted remark or fleeting thought. Following years of hardship, disappointments, and arduous advancement, Tammy has made a choice that has the potential to completely alter her destiny. He's getting hitched. Furthermore, not everyone is prepared to embrace it. Nothing compares to the emotional tempest currently raging around Tammy and her connection with Andrea Dalton. But Season 8 of 1000 Pounds Sister is already looking to be one of the most explosive chapters in the show's history. Amy Slaton and Chris Combs are adamantly opposed to Tammy's choice, turning what should have been a happy moment into a full-fledged family dispute. This is more than simply love for Tammy. It has to do with control. It's about eventually emerging from the shadow of persistent uncertainty and demonstrating that she is capable of making her own decisions in life, even if those decisions are contentious. For many years, Tammy has been perceived as the weak sister who needed support and who depended on Amy and other people to assist her navigate life. However, she is now desperate to demonstrate that she is no longer that person. And at the heart of it all is Andrea Dalton. It took time for their bond to develop. It developed softly and gently out of the spotlight that typically follows Tammy's life. Those close to Tammy claim that Andrea has been a consistent presence for her, listening to her, understanding her, and offering judgment-free support. Tammy hasn't always experienced that kind of connection, which is one of the reasons this friendship is so significant to her. However, that's precisely where Amy's worries start. Sometimes to Tammy's detriment. Amy has always been protective of her. She has experienced hospital stays, emotional breakdowns, and times when everything seemed to be falling apart. She has a strong sense of responsibility for her sister's welfare because she has witnessed Tammy at her darkest moments. Amy therefore reacted with fear rather than excitement when Tammy revealed her intention to be married. Insiders claim that Amy didn't hold, but she made it apparent that she doesn't think this marriage will endure. Her statements were direct and almost stunning in their candor. She believes that this relationship has a bleak future. It's the kind of statement that draws a boundary rather than merely expressing concern. Every phrase was heard by Tammy. It can be upsetting to hear that type of uncertainty from the person closest to you when you're trying to move on and start over. According to reports, Tammy felt misled, irritated, and wounded by Amy's response. From her point of view, this was meant to be a supportive occasion where her family would stand by her side. While she made a significant advancement, rather she was forced to defend her decisions once more. Chris Combs, on the other hand, used a different strategy but still came to a similar conclusion. Chris has a reputation for voicing his opinions. He doesn't sugarcoat anything, and he expresses his disagreements when he sees them. According to reports, Chris has voiced grave concerns about Andrea and the relationship in general. Even though he didn't use Amy's exact words, it was obvious that he didn't think this was a good idea. His worries extend beyond the relationship itself. Chris has a long-term perspective. He is considering Tammy's well-being, her emotional stability, and the advancements she has made in recent years. He believed that all of that development may be undone by a hurried or insecure relationship, and he is unwilling to overlook that risk. However, this is the point at which things drastically change. Tammy is not paying attention. For the first time in a long time, Tammy is refusing to let her family's thoughts influence her. She has made up her mind, and she won't change it for Amy, Chris, or anybody else. She is more determined to proceed the more they oppose her. Tammy's behavior has changed in a big way. It represents a distinct turning point in her journey when she becomes decisive instead of reactive. It's unclear if that choice was the right one, but one thing is for sure. He made it. And that's precisely the reason this situation is so challenging. On the one hand, it seems sense that Tammy wants to be independent. It makes reasonable that she would want to take charge of her own life after years of being reliant on others, having her decisions questioned and having her behavior closely examined. He wants to demonstrate that she is capable of making her own choices, choosing her own course and finding pleasure on her own. However, Amy and Chris are coming from a place of concern rather than criticism. They've witnessed what can occur when things go wrong and they're working to keep it from happening in the future. Their opposition is motivated by protection rather than control. And that's the reason this conflict is so fierce. It's not just a straightforward argument, rather a collision of viewpoints, all of which are motivated by love but diverge greatly. The effect on the family dynamic becomes unavoidable as the tension increases. Tension now permeates conversations that were once simple and encouraging. Arguments grow out of minor differences quite rapidly. Everyone is frustrated. Amy and Chris feel ignored and Tammy feels unsupported. Andrea is in the midst of it all. The rest of the family is still dubious, but Tammy views her as a source of joy and strength. They are becoming even more distant from her since they don't fully comprehend her role in Tammy's life. Every encounter gets more difficult and every choice feels riskier when there is no trust. This plot is already eliciting strong reactions from fans. Some people believe Tammy deserves happiness and the autonomy to make her own decisions, and they applaud her for taking charge of her life and following her heart. Others are supporting Amy and Chris because they think Tammy could be going too quickly and that their worries are legitimate. The gap between viewers is similar to the gap within the family, and it is only widening. The strain keeps increasing as season 8 progresses. The dispute intensifies as Tammy's wedding day approaches. Every discussion seems to have the potential to either unite the family or drive them farther apart. The most important question that still hangs over everything is whether Tammy will follow through on it no matter what. Because it's more than simply a wedding. At this point, it has to do with identity, it has to do with independence. The question is whether Tammy Slaton is genuinely prepared to take charge of her life, even if it means jeopardizing the relationships that have long defined her. There's no going back now. That much is certain. Tammy has decided what to do. The family has stated their position. Additionally, the issue is approaching a tipping point that might alter everything as emotions keep rising. The wedding is quickly approaching and not everyone intends to attend. The strain in Tammy Slaton's life intensifies to the point where no one in the family can ignore it as the wedding day approaches. The relationship between Tammy, Amy, and Chris is in danger of being irrevocably altered by the crack that began as a simple argument. Every exchange feels more delicate, every talk more weighty, and every moment more unpredictable. But Tammy isn't going to slow down. If anything, her resolve is growing. It feels more and more like this is where she should be as she approaches walking down the aisle with Andrea Dalton. It sees this as clarity rather than chaos. She feels absolutely certain about anything for the first time in a long time. And even when everything around her begins to crumble, that confidence is what keeps her going. The wedding preparations are quietly progressing behind the scenes. Tammy is completely committed to making this moment happen, and plans and specifics are being explored. However, the absence of her family's support and presence is just as crucial to those preparations as their inclusion. Amy's distance has been increasingly apparent. She used to be quite involved in every part of Tammy's life, but nowadays she's retreating. She hasn't completely left, but Tammy can sense it. Silence, reluctance, and unsaid tension take the place of the excitement that should be shared between sisters. Amy doesn't offer consolation when she does speak. Those with knowledge of the matter claim that Amy has intensified her worries. She hasn't altered her position. On the contrary, she's become more outspoken about it. She continues to think that the marriage will fail. She continues to think Tammy is making a mistake. He's no longer attempting to change such viewpoints. That's the breaking point for Tammy. At one point, which insiders characterize as intensely emotional, Tammy confronts Amy head-on. These days, it's more than simply the wedding. It's about everything that has been accumulating between them for a long time, their respective positions in each other's life, the manner in which they have helped and hindered one another. According to reports, Tammy confides in Amy that she believes she has never been given the opportunity to fully develop, that someone is always there to question her every time she tries to move forward, because she is constantly viewed as someone who needs to be controlled, rather than as someone who is capable. Amy, on the other hand, acknowledges that she is protective, but she challenges the notion that her worry is domineering. From her point of view, she is attempting to avoid suffering rather than inflict it. He brings back memories for Tammy, including the occasions when trust resulted in disappointment and the times when things didn't go as planned. The conversation isn't peaceful. It's raw, emotional, and full of long-suppressed emotions that are suddenly bubbling to the surface. And nothing is resolved after it's over. Chris Combs intervenes in his own manner, but rather than reducing the tension, his involvement exacerbates the confrontation. He still expresses skepticism, questions the bond, and remains steadfastly cautious. He might not be entirely aware, though, that every doubtful comment is driving Tammy more away, because Tammy is now defending herself, as well as her relationship. She starts to sketch a line, clearly but not loudly or dramatically. She declares that although she loves her family, she will no longer let their views to control her life. It's a subtle yet potent form of faith. Additionally, it marks a change that can be irreversible. Andrea, on the other hand, is still a constant. Although there is a lot of conflict among the family, Andrea is said to be composed, encouraging, and preoccupied. But Tammy, at least not in public, she isn't participating in the dispute. Rather, she is standing next to Tammy, supporting the notion that this connection is worthwhile. That support means the world to Tammy. It contributes to her confidence that she's making the correct decision. Andrea stands for acceptance during a time when she feels questioned and judged by those closest to her. And their relationship is only getting stronger as a result of that discrepancy. The issue of attendance becomes inevitable as the wedding draws near. Will Amy be present? Chris, will you? Or will Tammy enter this new phase of her life without the individuals who have supported her for so long? Everything is clouded with doubt. What ought to be a happy countdown becomes anxious and uncertain as a result. Not just for Tammy, but for everyone in her immediate vicinity. Each day offers fresh feelings, discussions, and moments of uncertainty. Fans are more split than ever as they watch this play out. Tammy's activities are viewed by some as courageous and a long overdue step towards self-determination and independence. They respect her courage to defend herself in the face of adversity. They think she should have the opportunity to create her own life on her own terms. Others notice red flags. They fear that Tammy's emotional past and the rapidity of their connection could result in yet another difficult chapter. They comprehend Amy and Chris's worries and think that sometimes showing love requires stating difficult things. Then, there are people who see both sides, who comprehend the risk and the reward, the fear and the optimism, because that's what makes this tale so captivating. There's no obvious antagonist. The answer is not straightforward. Some people simply care about one another and are attempting to make their way through a circumstance where every decision seems to have the potential to result in loss. Everything builds to a subdued yet impactful climax in the last days leading up to the wedding. Tammy doesn't waver. Amy is still unsure. Chris continues to have doubts. Andrea continues to support Tammy. The significance of the wedding is far more important than its actual outcome, because something essential has already altered regardless of whether the family unites or stays split. Tammy has evolved. She is no longer awaiting permission. She's no longer allowing fear to control her choices. She is becoming a more self-reliant, self-assured and risk-taking version of herself. However, there are drawbacks to such kind of development. Relationships change throughout time. Dynamics change. The individuals who have always been closest to you may also find it difficult to accept the new person you are becoming. The question of whether the marriage will endure is not the only one. The question is whether the family will be able to endure this change. Ultimately, this is more than just a wedding story. It's a tale of development, identity, and what occurs when a person chooses to take charge of their life, even if it means letting go of some aspects of their previous existence. One thing is evident as season 8 of 1,000 Pound Sister progresses. This is a pivotal moment that will never be forgotten. Tammy is making progress with or without everyone else. In season 6, Tammy Slaton, star of 1,000 Pound Sisters, developed a more serious relationship with Andrea. Will they still be together in 2025? Kentucky native Tammy, 38, co-stars on the reality TV show with her sister Amy Slaton. Tammy weighed 608 pounds at the start and 725 pounds at the end. They focused on her dating life while simultaneously following her weight loss efforts. In an online BBW chat forum, Tammy met Jerry Sykes. However, their romance ended when Jerry broke up with Tammy. Tammy's desire for a promise ring, which Jerry was unwilling to provide, led to the separation. Tammy found it challenging to tell Jerry that she was pansexual and that she was attracted to people of all genders and sexual orientations. Jerry left her soon after she revealed her reality, despite his claims that their separation had nothing to do with her coming out. Tammy checked herself into a recovery center after the breakup, where she met Caleb Willingham. The couple married in November 2022 after falling in love quite rapidly. Sadly, their time together was brief, since Caleb died in July 2023, 7 months after they were married at the age of 40. How did Andrea and Tammy meet? The timeline of Tammy and Andrea's dating. During her on-screen introduction, Andrea disclosed how she got to know Tammy. That is when Tammy went on her first genuine date. They met on a dating, she revealed. I saw her and she saw me, Andrea explained, adding that they struck up a conversation right away and the conversing became a regular occurrence. They first met in person on their date on the show, and there was no denying their chemistry. Andrea is beautiful, Tammy exclaimed, acknowledging that she adored every aspect of her. Tammy told the cameras that they were becoming closer every day. He joked, though, that she still hadn't farted in front of Andrea. Now I go to sleep at night, she chuckled. I can't control it. Tammy revealed that although she wanted to take things slowly, she had genuine feelings for Andrea. I'm not Amy, she continued, criticizing her sister's tendency to enter into relationships too soon. In a February piece, The Sun revealed Tammy's relationship with a lady. According to the article, a source told the publication that Tammy was seeing Andrea, a lady she had met around the time of Caleb's funeral in July 2023. According to the insider, Tammy was happier than ever in their relationship, and they were having fun. Additionally, the source verified that Tammy and Andrea were still together in February. Andrea's absence from 1,000 Pound Sisters Season 6 was announced at the time. Why was Andrea being kept a secret from her family by Tammy? Did Tammy believe Andrea wouldn't be accepted by her siblings? Before telling her family, Tammy first told the cameras that she was seeing someone new. So have I, she said, adding that Amy wasn't the only one seeing someone. Tammy clarified that she'd been seeing someone for a few months and that things were going well. She explained that she hadn't yet notified her family because she wanted to approach this relationship differently than she had in the past. Tammy looked irritated because she thought her relatives would comment on her relationship. She laughed aloud as she remarked that her family has more opinions than the world has a wholes, adding, because they be farting so much. Tammy blurted out that she knew her family didn't prefer LGBT individuals while speaking with her older sisters Misty and Amanda. I'm not sure why Tammy believes we would object if she dated a woman. Misty had swiftly responded. It don't matter to me. But Tammy emphasized that she was misinterpreting her statement, and that her family just tolerates homosexuals. Amanda was immediately angered by her sister's remark. Amanda reminded the audience that her kid was gay during her confessional. As long as the woman treated Tammy well, she didn't worry that Tammy was seeing someone. What Tammy had assumed about her surprised her, truly caught her off guard. Is Andrea taking advantage of Tammy to get TV time? Does Andrea chase clout? But because of all that has happened to her, including an abusive relationship in the past, Tammy feels susceptible before starting a new relationship. So soon after her husband's death, she might have benefited from therapy. Although their first date seemed lovely, Tammy is concerned when Andrea asks her to buy her a pair of shoes at the bowling alley. It could be concerning that Andrea seems to be aware of Tammy's status as a reality TV star and may already be anticipating her spending money on her. It seemed a little excessive for Andrea to inform Tammy on their first date that she wanted to meet her family on camera. Andrea seems more concerned in increasing her screen time than in getting to know Tammy better. It was a discussion that ought to have taken place in private. While Tammy was still mourning the unexpected death of her boyfriend, Andrea had previously been in a committed relationship. Andrea seems to be hurrying things, which could endanger their relationship. While Tammy needs time to recover and proceed at her own speed, Andrea and Tammy are still together. They're now involved. The connection Tammy and Andrea is still going strong. Although Tammy used to seem to date anyone who expressed interest,